changes in what we travel with. This is MacVoices. This week's MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide is an endpoint solution that uses the most powerful untapped resource in IT, end users. Learn more at kolide.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We would love to have you join us where we are in the chat room at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. That's where we have some of our friends in there already. They've said good evening. We have more showing up as I watch the counter jump up. So please join us. If you can't do it this week, if you're within the sound of my voice, you definitely should. If you can't, then set an alarm for next Tuesday night at the appointed hour and make sure you join us, because we do this every Tuesday night. As always, let's go around the room, find out who's here, and then find out what we'll be talking about. Starting on my screen, as I always do, Mr. David Ginsburg, representing MacStock Conference and Expo. David, good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you. Glad to be here. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple days. It's going to be a lot of fun with MacStock coming up, but glad to be here tonight and talk about some great topics with the
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone too. It's been way too long. Way too long. Mark Fuccio is here with one of his trademark backgrounds. So the only question I have about that one, Mark, is, are those all your dogs?
Oh, no, they're not.
Okay.
But no, they're not. But you'll have dogs similar size, at least little two ones here over my shoulder. But it's hot. It's hot in most of the country. So it seems like, we're early for the dog days of summer, which I think normally is August. But it's early this year.
Yeah.
And as far as this meeting, I think we'll have a great discussion as always, but I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. There seems to be a little bit of disagreement in our private chat room, our Slack room, about what we should be talking about. So we'll see as Chuck picks the topics and looses them on us.
And this is new, Mark, that there's disagreement?
Yeah.
Mr. Warren Sklar is back in spite of, I thought he told us he wouldn't be here this week. His wife is still, we still are assuming he really is married. So for right now, we'll go with that. And she's still out of town, so he's here. Warren, good to see you.
I try to keep you guys on your toes. I'll tell you that I'm not here every week. And then if I show up, I show up. That's how I roll. And I thought we were going to talk about what tech we want to travel with, because you mentioned that last week. And I think that would be fun.
Yeah, that's one of the places we're definitely going to start.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be here. I too am looking forward to meeting Dave and Chuck in person for the first time ever. I met a few other my Mackers and podcasters.
Guy will be there too.
I met Guy. I met David Hamilton, and I think a few others. But yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. Jeff, did you cancel? Yeah. Did you cancel the Wordle thing yet? No. All right.
Bless your heart, Warren.
Okay, Jeff Gamet, good to have you. Should we have you explain that maybe, or should we just leave it alone?
I'm happy to explain it. So Warren is the only person in the tech world that has no idea what WordPress is.
I know.
Oh yeah.
And he was quite surprised to find out that WordPress conferences are a big thing. And but I know what it is. He secretly is jealous of those of us that are going to WordCamp US in September. And so this is how he's expressing it. And Warren, don't be jealous. Just get a plane ticket and come out. It doesn't matter if you have a pass to the conference or not. We're all going to have a great time.
Do I need to bring a dictionary?
You can get one there.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. Last but absolutely not least, arriving just in time to be introduced, Mr. Jim Ray is here. Jim, good to have you. I'm glad you made it.
Had to run to the post office.
Why? Does anybody use the post office anymore?
I had to run to the post office.
Okay, I'll leave it. I'll leave it there.
Question answers itself, Chuck.
Yes. Okay. All right. So, yes, I think I introduced everybody. So I think we're ready to go. And we're going to start out with a topic that's sort of a carryover from last week. We were talking about MacStock, and I believe Brian in the chat room, I think, Brian, I'm going to give you credit until you correct me. But I think he pointed out that it's been 3 years since we traveled to MacStock. And
2019.
and he was asking, are we going to be traveling with any tech that's different than what we would have traveled to MacStock with then? Which is a really interesting question. And I sort of reviewed some things, but I want to find out from you all. And by the way, obviously we're talking about MacStock, but any travel at this point, because we're all starting to at least hopefully get back into traveling. What has changed in the gear that you take with you? Anybody want to start?
I don't think anything's really changed for me. I pretty much keep status quo what I travel with. Always have my laptop with me. There was times I was traveling, I was tempted not to bring my laptop, but then gave in at the last minute. I says, "What am I, nuts? I got to have a laptop with me." So I did. But when I am going to do any podcasting, that kind of stuff, I'm not going to lug my Rodecaster Pro here with me, but I do have a Zoom H6 portable that I tend to travel with when I won't expect I'm going to do any recording with them, just with some mics, and nowhere near as crazy as Guy Searle with his 9 mics he brings with him all the time. But more, I always have cords with me. I always have. You'd be amazed. I've had this backpack for years and years, and it's a really big backpack. And there's times where I've filled it up all the way to the brim with the technology that I'm sure, and I know Chuck, you have many times too. So, but that's pretty much what I keep with me. I always have an iPad with me. I always have my Mac, and sometimes I have 2 Macs because if I'm like when I traveled for work, that was what it was. I was traveling for work for the first time in 2.5 years, and I wasn't going to bring my laptop. I said, "What are you, nuts? I can't use my work. I'm not using my work laptop for personal stuff." So that's what I did.
That's interesting. That's interesting. One more late arrival, but she's always welcome whenever she can get here. Ms. Brittany Smith has arrived. Brittany, great to have you. Glad you made it.
Thanks for having me. I'll stay out, hang out as long as I can.
Good. We are just talking about the tech that some of us will be using for travel to MacStock, but travel in general now that maybe we didn't use or didn't have available in 2019, because that was the first MacStock. So you're free to weigh in now, or if you want to think about it, you can do that too.
I mean, just for travel in general, unfortunately, I can't go to MacStock this year, but which I'm super jealous about, by the way. Gonna have lots of FOMO over here.
Mm-hmm.
I love traveling with my MacBook Pro, and my favorite thing to do on an airplane is edit video. And having an M1 chip in it means that if there's something a little bit wonky with the plug in the chair, I can still edit video the entire flight and not run out of battery unless it's international. So I think that'd be my favorite thing that I have that's different.
Okay, that's a good one. Let's see who else. Warren, since you're traveling to MacStock, what do you think?
Like Dave, my backpack becomes crazy stupid, and like you're always. I've traveled too many times where I didn't bring an HDMI cable. I'm like, I have a million of them, and I need one now. So now you get this like fear that you don't bring what you need to bring.
Yeah.
So the backpack gets crazy. I have like 4 or 5 USB-C docks or hubs that do the exact same thing in my bag. Why? I don't know. But my new travel buddy would be the M2 MacBook Air sitting there.
Why am I not surprised?
I just can't be trusted, and you only.
And it's midnight, right?
No, I did not get. This one I ordered 2 days ago. So I mean, that's how fast it came. And I
where does it sit in relationship to your Surface?
It's The Surface is upstairs. Oh, the Surface, like the laptop Surface.
By all means, mention any Windows Surface products you have.
or any Windows product for that matter.
So I have 3 laptops now, and I'm not gonna. So I wanted this. I don't want to bring the Surface to a Mac conference because that would be bad. So that's a light one. I wasn't gonna do that. The 14-inch Pro, I think, is just gonna be a little bit too heavy. So
A 14-inch?
yeah,
Really?
well, that's what I'm telling myself, and that's why I got this thing. So,
The 16-inch I have is very heavy, and I admit it. But
the 14,
I don't
the
mind
14-inch is
it.
not crazy heavy, but it's not light. But anyhow, setting it up now. It's nice, like it so far. What's there not to like? And other than that, all my Apple stuff that probably was around 2 years ago, AirPod Pros, iPad Mini 6 I have now. So I don't know why I'm bringing them all, because I'm sure there'll be a computer at Mock Stop if we need to use one, but that's what I'm doing. Okay.
Well, Warren,
Then I'll
that's
bring
like
mine.
saying, I don't know why I bring underwear. I'm sure there'll be some at Mac stock if I need it.
There might be. I have forgotten underwear on vacation.
Jeff,
Yes, I
without
almost retest-
pants, underwear becomes a little bit more
I have done that
necessary.
once too. I must have.
I did that once. I forgot to pack
I
my underwear.
appreciate what you're saying, Brittany.
I did
Yes.
too. I had to go buy some.
I had to buy some. My wife wouldn't let it go. She thought it was the finest thing in the world.
It happened to me too. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll bet. Some comments from the chat room before we go on. Let's see. Webb said when he went to Scotland, he took his iPad and, of course, his iPhone. He did not take his MacBook Pro. And Brian said, this is an interesting point. For me, traveling tech depends on if it's a business trip or not. If not, I can generally get by just fine with my M1 iPad Air. So,
I'm with Brian.
Really?
I have what's basically a mental flow chart that I follow to decide what device is going with me. And so it could be the MacBook Pro, it could be the iPad Pro, or it could be both. It depends on what the purpose of the trip is.
Once you're bringing like an iPad Air or iPad Pro to keyboard, how much room and weight are you saving between that and like a MacBook Air at that point?
A pound, maybe.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah.
it's not about the weight for me. It's about what functions I expect I need to perform with my technology.
right, but the MacBook's always going to do more than the iPad, I think.
Right. But there are certain
Yeah.
things that I do just with my iPad. Like if I'm going to edit video, that happens on the iPad, period.
Right, but if for the extra pound, is it worth having that peace of mind that you could do more than what you could do with the iPad? I bring both, so I'm not a good case either. I
Yeah.
bring an
Oh,
iPad.
it sounds, Warren, it sounds like Jeff has figured this out, and it
Yeah.
sounds like he does enough trips that it works for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's-
that has been an argument before. Is once you start outfitting an iPad almost as much as a computer, when you put the keyboard to it, then what's your what's
Right.
the rationing of it? So, again,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
the
can
last
appreciate
year-
that.
Yeah. So we have vacation travel coming up, my wife and I, in starting in October. And, thinking about it, since last year, I downsized from the 16-inch MacBook Pro to a 13-inch MacBook Air. So right away, that's big reduction in size and weight, with an upgrade in terms of performance and battery life. I probably would not. And until this conversation now never really occurred to me, I was thinking, of course, I would bring my iPad Pro, but maybe not. Just in the interest of saving weight and other things, because we do certainly everything with the MacBook Air and an external drive for media and things. But sort of the other constant is. I think some of my traveling tech is stabilized, but there's a continuous mix of evolution in terms of the type of cables and power supplies that I bring. So I think that's an important point for a lot of people. And then the other thing is just because of COVID, some PPE equipment, masks in case we need it. But I think more important, we've all been sensitized about all the sort of pathogens and crud that can be on your airplane seat table and armrests. So bringing sterilizing pads to wipe all that stuff down if you're going to be going on a long trip, because you don't want to get sick because the mom or dad before you had a baby with diarrhea all over your seat tray. So I think it's just general upgrading of awareness of your environmental risks and packing a few extra things that are small and light in order to protect yourself.
Yeah, I have one more addition that is a good idea to do. An extension cord, some kind of plug that goes behind. Like a thin extension cord, because most times if you go to a hotel, there's no plugs on your side tables, and a lot of times there's plugs underneath or next to the bed, so you pull the bed out and you get more extension cords. It's come in handy. So I have this a couple of little ones that I use with the couple of outlets in it, and it's saved me too.
Today's MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide is an endpoint security solution that uses the most powerful untapped resource in IT, end users. Old school device management tools like MDMs force disruptive agents onto employee devices that slow performance and treat privacy as an afterthought. Kolide does things differently. Instead of forcing changes on users, Kolide notifies your team via Slack when their devices are insecure and gives them step-by-step instructions on how to solve the problem. By reaching out to employees via a friendly Slack message and educating them about company policies, Kolide can help you build a culture in which everyone contributes to security, because everyone understands how and why to do it. That makes for a stronger security now and a stronger security future. You can meet your compliance goals by putting users first. Visit kolide.com/MacVoices to find out how. That's Kolide, KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Kolide for supporting this edition of MacVoices.
So Warren, I've on the same time, I found over time the number of hotels that are not equipped, with additional outlets or even with USB chargers and in the bedside or desktop lamps, is decreasing. But on some, if they don't have it, you have to move the stuff around. And I want to ask you, at the end, do you feel compelled to put the nightstand back in place, or do you leave it out just as a message that, something is wrong, that everything is unplugged, the nightstand is out, so obviously this hotel guest, plugged other stuff in.
I had one case where we had to move the bed out of the way to get to the plug.
Get to the outlet,
yeah, we couldn't push it back in, so we left that out a little bit. But it's always a lamp, right? The side table lamps is what is usually the only thing that's plugged into the thing, and there's nothing left to plug in because there's maybe the clock. So you have to unplug it and then use the extension with the multiple outlets, and you can plug the lamp into that. But it's and I have a CPAP machine, like a few of us do too. So that's always the thing when we travel too. My wife and I get to the hotel and they're like, which side are you going to? So I'm looking at the sides to see which one has the outlets and more of the outlets, so I can plug in that and my phone and my watch and all that stuff. So definitely the extension cord with outlets is a good idea.
I say hotels have gotten a lot better with outlets and such. The last two hotels I stayed at, I was in Chicago when I was at a conference. It was a very modern hotel, so it had everything that you needed. I mean, outlets, USB plugs, the whole shebang. I always find that interesting. They always have the clock radios. I always shove the clock radio to the side. Like, why do you have this thing on that? Who cares about a clock radio? Use your phone for that. I mean, but they still have the ones with the dock, so you can put your phone in it and stuff. The old iPhones,
the old 30
with the 30-pin connector. Yeah,
I've seen those stuff. That's where they all end up in these hotels.
But I mean, the last hotel I was at, it was great because there was plenty of outlets everywhere, and I'm the same thing with CPAP, and I want, and then I'll bring the charger and stuff, and these hotels have gotten better. I mean, the hotels were bad. That's right. I've had to pull out beds and you can't even get the darn outlet.
And then with the some of the lamps, you know how like you get excited when some of the lamps have an extra plug in the lamp, like on the base of the lamp, like yes, because now you have an extra plug right
That's
there.
getting pretty common now too. Those
Yeah.
clock radios are worse than useless because they're so bright.
Yeah, that
I
too.
have to-
I turn it around, so because I don't even want to look
turn
at
it around or cover it or
Unplug it.
or unplug it
or
if you
unplug
can.
well, but a lot of times they're hard to reach the plug.
Right. Well, they
Yeah.
purposely do that.
Yeah.
Well, and you, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not about to trust a clock radio to set an alarm because I don't know it. You know, I'm always going to use my phone because that
Right.
way I feel it's pretty reliable.
Mhm.
Um,
I still do wake up calls because I'm old school. I call
Wake
it
up
calls.
calls. Oh my God.
Warren.
You are old school. Oh my
Wow.
So
God.
wake me up at 7:30. Yes, Mr.
He probably
surprised
even
it-
uses the post office.
Then he gets up at 6:40.
Well, you just did.
Yes, I know, Dave.
So, Warren, do you get up at 6:45 and just watch the phone? Are they going to call? Are they going to call at 7? Are they going to call? Are they going to call?
Wow.
And then
Jim, how
call
about
that
you? We
stuff.
haven't heard from you. Anything that you is in your mind?
I went and looked through my Amazon list to see. I bought a DJI Osmo Pocket about a year ago, which I haven't really had a chance to use much. So if I did go traveling, I'd probably want to take that and play with that. Other than that, I can't really find much new other than as Mark was saying, masks. I usually bring my iPad and my MacBook. I do have a 13-inch now instead of the last Mac stock. I had to lug my 15-inch, so 13-inch would be a little bit nicer. And I still have the same phone and iPad that I had in 2019. So,
well, when I packed for NAB and also then for a separate trip to Vegas, one of those was conference, one was not. But I sort of tore out my backpack and started over. And the things that occurred to me, first of all, I basically only carry a small extra battery pack because my phone nor my iPad really need charge during the day with the battery life that's improved since 2019. So, it used to be I'd carry 2 or 3 of those and I have to plug them in at night and charge them. And that was, a hassle, but it was necessary. And same thing with my MacBook Pro. The battery life is such that now I don't feel like I need to worry about, or in the airport, dig for every possible outlet I can find to give it a little bit of charge. Don't want to be completely cavalier about it, but I feel like, that the battery life of all the devices is a lot smaller. I do have a MagSafe battery pack for my phone, more as an emergency thing than really anything else. Again, just because, the battery life is so great, but that way I do have it if I need it in a situation where, you might be using your phone extremely hard and still need to charge it. One other thing yeah.
You said something that of course I immediately latched onto, which is you did an inventory of what you're carrying.
Right.
And I did that in 2019. And of course, then we have a pandemic, and I felt like I wasted all that time. But in my carry-on bag, I have a small packet thing that I've put together, and it's all the cables I need when I travel. And this stays in my suitcase. So whenever I travel, I don't have to think about, do I have the right cables? It's just this pack in my bag, and it has a couple other adapters that I might need for stuff. In 2019, I pulled all the stuff out of that and did an inventory to figure out, what do I need to keep? What do I need to add in? What can come out? And I'm glad I did that, because I pulled out like a wind-up telephone cord that had been in there since Macworld days when
RJ11.
Yeah, when you needed to be able to plug in for a modem at times, and
PCMCIA card, remote modems.
I've had that cable so long. It's from when the modems were still built into our Macs.
Yeah.
God. Us Windows users had to use those cards to get our
like animals.
The PCMCA cards.
So Chuck, the one thing you said that kind of made me laugh was and we can all relate when we go through airport security and they want us to take out electric devices. Does everybody stare at you? All of us? Because we have we keep going. Computer,
Yeah.
iPad,
Nah.
reader.
Well,
My
I mean,
wife-
multiple bins all lined up with all
Yeah,
the stuff in
different
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you get TSA pre now, most places, not everywhere,
Yeah.
especially smaller airports, you might still
everywhere,
have to
yeah.
do that. But most of the time, if you get TSA pre, you don't have to pull that stuff.
Yeah,
Chuck, I
have
found
pre-
that even in the really small airports, when they say I have TSA pre-check, they'll do something like pull out a yellow card that I carry with me, or someone will write a note on a piece of paper and say, "Show this to Joe when you go through security."
Yeah,
and then I don't have to take out all that stuff.
Yeah. The last time that I had to pull everything out, and I was not happy about it, I admit. I had like a 6 a.m. flight. And TSA pre wasn't open. There was nobody from pre there. So they made me, do the unpack and repack thing, which was, if I have to be up at 6 a.m., I want everybody else up at 6 a.m. too.
Right.
So I don't know what's wrong with you guys. I like taking off my shoes and my belt. I want to know that they get x-rayed and that there's no terrorists or any threats.
There's no terrorists in your shoes.
Mark, no
Yes.
one will stop you from doing those things.
Yes. Yeah, but by all means.
Yeah. You could even do it right now if you wanted.
Yeah.
One thing that I have that I think most of us have now that we probably would use for travel that we didn't have in 2019 is the tracker, which all of a sudden
AirTags.
AirTag,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've tried it a few times. It's kind of useless. Like, what? I don't know. I guess it's not useless if your luggage goes missing, but I tried to use it in an airport just as a test, and my bags were in front of me. My phone didn't see them, so I think it's not perfect, but yeah.
I've had really good luck with my tests with my AirTags when I've traveled. And actually, I have an AirTag in my bag that I carry around with me all the time, and another one in my computer bag. And if I go like to a friend's house where I needed to take my computer and then we go and do something else, I always get the alert that I've left my laptop behind, which is great. But I found that you should probably check the batteries on a regular basis on AirTags. If you have a bag that you carry with you like everywhere and there's an AirTag in it, the battery is going to drain a lot faster than if you have a bag that just basically stays at home and then goes out occasionally.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is it?
I'm assuming it's because it's transmitting more often. It's wow, words hard. I have an AirTag in the bag that I carry all the time, and I had to replace the battery like a month ago. I have another AirTag in my computer bag, and I bought those at the same time. The AirTag in the computer bag, which thanks to the pandemic has spent most of its time just sitting on the floor in my office, the battery still has nearly a full charge.
Yeah. That's a good one, because honestly, it's one I'd forget about. That I have AirTags in all my bags, even the ones that I keep with me, just because I don't want them walking away either.
But you get an alert that the battery's low, but you don't want that to happen when you're in the middle of a trip and it might be difficult to swing by a place and pick up a battery.
Yeah. One thing I did notice that when I took everything out and started to repack is that I've been able to replace, like 3 or 4 different chargers basically with one. One of the high powered ones. You can get them from Anchor, you can get them from Hyper, but so that I can charge my iPad, my phone, and my Mac all at once. So that saves a ridiculous amount of space. And the only thing that's left over is your Apple Watch. So that requires a separate something of some kind, but obviously it requires that special magnetic charger to attach to it. So I feel like I'm carrying a lot less cables and a lot less power related items than I ever did before. And I do want to echo though the comments about the power strip or extension cord or whatever. I always carry like a little 4 outlet power strip, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. they're useful at they're useful at hotels, but at airports they're essential, especially if you end up, getting stuck somewhere, and one person is plugged into the one outlet that's there. If you can talk them into just unplugging for a minute and plugging back into your force strip, then they, and two other people can be charging your devices. And it's usually people are pretty cool about that. Just, if you show them what you want to do, they're like, oh yeah, great. As long as I can keep charging, I don't care what you do. So.
Yep. Yeah. Bribes, way to make friends.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Oh, Paul in the chat room, Paul, you're going to have to explain this. He asked if anybody carries a battery printer. Now, I didn't even know they still made battery printers.
I asked that same question.
Battery powered printer?
Battery powered
printer.
Not like a 3D printed battery, right?
No.
Like a
No.
Okay.
A printer that
it's
runs on batteries.
Yeah,
For
Paul,
what?
What's a printer? Is that something you
well,
use in conjunction
exactly.
with the post office?
yeah, I mean, Paul, you're gonna have to explain it, because that the next question is, okay, that means you have to carry paper or buy paper when you're wherever you're going. So what are you doing? The Mac Voices live panel is back in the next edition of Mac Voices to continue their in-depth discussion of the changes in the things we travel with from a tech standpoint. From hardware recommendations to VPNs, there's something here that's going to benefit you the next time you pack your bags. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. I hope you'll join us then. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.